at you all the way from our dorm rooms to your conference rooms. Saba, Ali, and Dan Tiemann here are two college students who are ready to talk to you guys about business and lifestyle from our personal experiences.
Each week we'll discuss about our lifestyle as college students as well as our tips and strategies starting in the business field. We'll bring on successful entrepreneurs in the millennial generation to share with us their journey and how they got started and where they're at now.
Our goal is to help you students, millennials, and entrepreneurs gain inspirational advice by our spontaneous conversations and meaningful guidance. Let's dive on in.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Dorm Rooms and Conference Rooms. It's episode 52, and we have another special guest on here for our Friday specials. But to get us going, Saba, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. I'm super excited about our guest today. I actually met him in person at the Young Entrepreneur Convention this year, but I'm super pumped about what he's about to bring to us today.
Yeah, guys. Well, first of all, Saba, I wish I could have met him, but it's great to finally connect with him now. Guys, we have Derreck Stratton on, a U.S. Air Force veteran, as well as starting and co-founding 6 different construction companies, and has now created courses to help people going into the construction industry. Now, Derreck, that was a little tidbit about yourself, but just expand about yourself and really get us going.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Dan, very much. And first off, let me just say it's great to be here, great to be talking to you guys. I started in the construction industry just over 10 years ago, and a lot of trial and error. The construction industry, I found, was still very much so stuck in the 60s and 70s, very, very outdated. Not a lot of information available out there online about how to get started and whatnot. So when I started back in 2005, hopefully that doesn't date me. When I started back in 2005, man, everything I did was I had to learn it the hard way. I went to other experts in the industry and I tried to get advice and questions. And at that time, I was a 20-year-old kid. They weren't real interested in giving out information, or they didn't take me seriously, one of the two. So I pretty much spent the first 6-7 years just kind of trial by error, learning things the hard way. And then back in 2011, things really started to pick up, and I kind of figured out the equation. And from there, things really took off. And over the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, we've done millions and millions of dollars worth of work. We're up to about 20 employees now, and I think this year we'll probably break 3 million in gross sales.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Tyler, very much.
Yeah, Derreck. So, take us back a little bit further. So, did you actually get interested in like entrepreneurship and construction while you were in college, when you graduated college, or how did that really initially start for you?
Well, unfortunately, my story is not quite as cut and dry as some people's. So I have a convoluted mess of entrepreneurship and college and military service. Have you ever seen that infographic about what people think life should be like? And it's like a straight line, and an upward slope. And then it's like what it's really like, and it's like a big scribble with like an arrow pointing out the side of it. That's kind of what my life was like. I joined the Air Force straight out of high school, and I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was at the time. And about 2.5 years into it, I transferred into the Air National Guard and started a full-time construction company, not because I so much wanted to be in the construction industry, but because I saw a huge opportunity from a monetary standpoint. And then I started attending college, nights, evenings, as a working adult, even though I was only, 21 years old. And from there, the term entrepreneur really didn't come into play for me until about 2012, 2013, when I started to see massive cash flow. At that point in time, you're like, you have to start seeking outside help and talking to investors and accountants. And then, then you start hearing those terms. And, I went to college for molecular biology, so absolutely nothing to do with the construction industry.
So how did you get, a little background more about yourself, but how did you get into the Air Force? How did you get into the military side of everything?
So my family, they're career military. All of my grandpas and my grandpa's brothers were all in the Army, Army Airborne. And then one of my grandpas actually died in the military. And my dad was all signed up and ready to go. And my grandma like begged him not to join the military because his dad had died in the military. So my dad didn't end up joining the Army because of that very purpose. But growing up, my grandparents were a very big part of my life. And, they were always telling me war stories and stuff like that. And I mean, from a very young age, I knew I was going into the military. And I actually planned on being a lifer. My first enlistment was for 6 years, and I had no intentions of ever leaving the Air Force.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. First off, thank your grandfather. Thank you for his service, and then thank you for your service as well for this great country we all live in, and I think take for granted a lot of the time right now. But while in the Air Force, do you see some of those qualities of being in the military used in your business ventures today, whether it's being strong-skinned, whether it's not like basically just not letting things get to you, or the discipline? Do you see a lot of those correlating into what you do now?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I mean, so many of the lessons I learned in the military, even going clear back, I mean, basic training is kind of, looking back at it now, it's like a joke. But going through it, I assure you it was no joke. But, I mean, everything the military teaches you, I mean, it is very, it's right along the same track of being an entrepreneur. I mean, especially as you start to grow, as I said, we've got about 20 people in our company. And as we've started to grow, the values and the lessons that the military has taught me has really made us an efficient and profitable company. And just the spirit of one, one team, one mission, the Army of one, and in the Air Force, you've always got your wingman's back and whatnot. And from a team standpoint, I believe a team is everything. I don't think you can build a multi-million-dollar company by yourself. Some people out there might argue with me on that one, but I would argue that it's definitely a stronger company with a good team and a good foundation. But then not only that, but like the Air Force, their core values is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. And I mean, what's a company without those three things?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's very true. But Derreck, I think you're one of the first people that I've met who is an entrepreneur and who's in construction. So is that one of your passions that you want to really follow in life? Or is that just like a niche that you saw that you really want to go after? How did you get into like actually doing construction work, like with your business?
So I was in the Air Force and I was home on leave, and in the military, you don't make a lot of money. And to be honest, I didn't join the military to make money. That was by no means my intention. But I was struggling with, the little bit amount of money that we made. And while I was home on leave one fall, it was I think it was around November time. I had the opportunity to do some work with a company, and I ended up making thousands and thousands of dollars while I was back. And in my mind, it's like the very early stages of, it's like being an entrepreneur. I don't think you can be taught so much how to be an entrepreneur. It's like, it's either it's inside of you or it's not. You may not fully like realize it or appreciate it or know what it is, but I don't think you can teach someone to have that drive and ambition. And back when I was 20, that ambition was there, but I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. But I really got into the construction industry just because I saw a niche in Des Moines, Iowa, and I filled it. And I've made millions of dollars in the process. And now, now the entrepreneur side of me, now I really know what an entrepreneur is. I'm like fully immersed in the entrepreneur scene, and I'm building courses, and I've just recently founded a company with another guy here in Des Moines that we're getting ready to launch. It's really exciting. But now what I'm trying to do is take what I've learned in the construction industry and pass it on, because I grew up, I use the term poor loosely. I mean, we didn't have like dirt floors or anything, but my family was not wealthy. We were not well off. I mean, my mom, single mom, raised 3 kids. Parents were divorced, and growing up, I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. And now I've built a life and a lifestyle for myself and my wife and my 3 kids that is just, I mean, even today when I sit back and think about it, it's just phenomenal. And I'd like to pass this information on to other young people who, maybe I have a lot of friends that I graduated college with, and they don't know what to do with their life, and they've found themselves working at, retail stores making, $40,000, $50,000 a year. And I'm like, guys, I mean, give me a couple of years, I can have you making $200,000-$300,000 easy.
It's awesome. Yeah, I know what it's like. My mom actually is a single mother myself here, Derek. My dad unfortunately passed away about 10 years ago this summer. And
man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's a crazy world. But yeah, no, so I know what it's like to have that single mother really want, because my why almost is to provide for her, and everything I want to do and be successful is to help her later on, just kind of being able
Absolutely.
to, be able to help her. But with all this, like, how did you find your first client? So you were really driven, obviously. You were in the military, so that even built you into a better person that you are now. And how did you find that first client then when you did start and you opened up your doors?
Well, I could tell you that you should buy my course and find out all about it, but I don't think you want to go into the construction industry. So my first client actually, I hired me on to do hourly work, and it was, like I said, it was the middle of winter, and it was cold, and there was some outside stuff that needed to be done. And I mean, here I was, a young, ambitious 20-year-old. I didn't care one bit. So they hired me on as a subcontractor by the hour, and I just did some work around their job site for them and whatnot. And then, from there, that relationship grew, and I did a lot of work for them over the next, I think it was 2 or 3 years. And it was that single step, I mean, I started off making $20 an hour as a subcontractor, and within 12 months, I think one of my first contracts with them was like $50,000 plus. So, I mean, it quickly evolved, and it was just about being motivated and ambitious and willing to do whatever it took to get the job done.
So you said earlier that team is everything. So once you did get your first client, how did you really start to scale your business and really build that team that you have today?
Let me tell you, it was not a quick process. If I only knew now, if I could take that information back then, go back and tell my 20-year-old self some of this information. But back then, I mean, I could tell you, what do you want? I could tell you what I did, but what I did wasn't right.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just take us through like what you did, and then if you did fail, what you learned from it, and then what you're doing now.
So I am a doer. I love it when people ask me, Derek, what do you do for a living? What's your job title? Well, I'm a doer. I'm a problem solver. I'm a fixer. They're like, well, that's not a title. I'm like, well, sure it is. So back then, I got this huge contract, and I didn't have any money, and it takes a lot of money to make payroll and cover employees and insurance and all that stuff. So what I did is I went to my friends, and I said, hey guys, I've got this big job, but I can't pay you for like 3 weeks until I get paid on it. And I need manpower. And I went to pretty much everybody I know, and I rounded up like six friends, and we pretty much bootstrapped this first project. And I mean, everybody pretty much worked for free for the first 3 weeks. And then, I got like a $40,000 check, and I paid everybody, and, gave them a little extra. And I mean, today, that is not how I would advise a young entrepreneur who is wanting to get into the construction industry to start a company. But 10 years ago, that's how I did it.
It's awesome being able to hire your friends and stuff like that. I don't even know if I would trust some of my friends enough to hire them on, to be honest here. Just a bunch of 22-year-olds running around with their head chopped off, I think, sometimes. But, so Derek, what is your why now? What really drives you and motivates you these days after being in the business for so long? What gets you up in the morning? What gets you going? What really drives what you do now?
So I'm really glad you asked that question. The big turning point in my life was September 15th, 2012, when my daughter was born. At that time, I still only had like 1 foot in the door. I wasn't fully committed to the construction industry. I was just doing it because it It was a good source of income. And then my wife got pregnant, and suddenly I was going to be a dad. And at that point in time, I knew it was time to hammer down and really make this thing happen. Because at that time I was like 27, 28. I was getting too old to really pursue any other path, and I knew I needed to fully commit. So I fully committed at that time, and then my daughter was actually born, and man, it completely changed my life. And now I've got a 2.5-year-old, and I've got 2 5-month-old twins, and they're my why. They're what gets me going in the morning. They're what drives me day in, day out.
So Derreck, you have a very successful business. You have a family now. So how do you really balance business and then family as well? Because I bet you're really busy with your employees, with your business. So how do you really balance everything day to day?
It's really tough. My wife, if my wife was here, she would tell you that I didn't balance it. In fact, I think I had this conversation with her just a couple of days ago that I don't have balance, but it's tough. It really is. I'm going to tell you that as a young entrepreneur, when you're first getting started and you're first building up your client base, I'm going to tell you that there's no such thing as a work-life balance. It's full bore work. All out, as fast as you can, 24 hours a day. And you might think I'm joking, but I'm really not. So as a young entrepreneur, if you're just getting started out there, man, let me tell you, plan on working, 18, 20 hours a day for quite a while. Now I'm still working 18 hours a day, but I get to take a decent amount of time off to take my family on vacations. And so I think the way I do it is I kind of do it in phases. I'll hammer it out. And when we're really busy, I'll work 6 days a week, anywhere from 12 to 18 hours a day. And then, when I kind of see a little bit of daylight to where people don't need me as much and my clients are all happy and the workload isn't real heavy, I'll take my family on vacation somewhere. My 2.5-year-old's been, she's flown 5 times. She's been to Mexico and Florida and California, and she's a world traveler, man. Let me tell you, she'll wake up in the morning, she'll come downstairs, she's like, "Daddy, I want to go to the beach." I'm like, "Well, honey, we live in the wrong state."
Yeah, it's awesome being able to get to do those things and being able to spend time with family is definitely a great driver, and being able to just manage that all. And yeah, definitely being in Iowa, you definitely don't have any beaches near you. I spent 3 years there going to St. Ambrose there in the Quad Cities. And yeah, there's no beaches. I was looking for one too.
Oh, no beaches.
So Derreck, now that a lot of us, including myself, I just graduated school and I ran into this problem where it's okay, I have this business kind of going and, starting up right now. And I told my business partner that if we land one more client at a bigger ticket price, I'll step away from a day job I had to take in order to pay off some bills. Now, what would be your advice to somebody like me who had to take this job right now to pay off the bills versus me just diving straight into what we're doing where we have a couple of clients, but they're not paying at the highest prices that we're asking now? Because now we really have learned a lot and we're really expanding our business.
I love that question. I tell you what, I'm going to use a quote. Don't remember who said it, but there is no elevator to success. It is a long staircase. And I know this may not be real motivational for some of the young entrepreneurs listening, but it is some of the best advice you'll get is you got to pay your dues. I would advise you to do what it takes. Stick with that day job. If you have to work that day job for 6-8 hours a day, when you get off work, you don't have kids. I don't know if you're married or not, but there's another 8 hours. There's another 8 hours in the day for you to go hustle at your passion to build it into a profitable business. And, going back, if I could go back, 10 years ago and advise myself at all, it'd be to, not to take my time, but to be patient. Patience is a huge virtue that even today I still don't really have, but, it takes money to make a company work. And I would advise you to, like I said, there's 24 hours in a day. If you're spending 8 of them at your paying job, then your other 8 hours need to be spent developing your non-paying job to become a paying job.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been quite the struggle. Even on lunch breaks, I'm making phone calls to clients that I have on my own business. I'm just like,
oh, there you go. I love it.
Using every hour I can in the best possible way. I mean, writing up proposals on lunch, or reaching out to the clients that once a week that we do, and then even on lunch, prospecting for new clients. And then once I get off work, trying to set up calls for after work to follow up with our current clients, and just making sure we retain them to make sure we do have some flow of income or some flow of cash due flowing in. So yeah, it's quite the hustle right now to figure everything out. But I have such a good business partner who's, has his own business as well, that he's able to kind of step away from and put someone else in charge of while he starts this with me. So he's been able to take a lot of the calls for me. I've been really fortunate about that. But Derreck, to kind of close us up here, what are some, I know I already asked you for the 22-year-old graduating entrepreneurs, but what is something you could directly talk to our 18-year-old entrepreneurs, or even, better yet, our entrepreneurs who listen to this and they're, 5 years in and they're hustling? What is some advice to them?
I think the biggest piece of advice I could give is that the fact that failure is bad, that is a misconception. That is a giant misconception. I believe that failure is a key part in the formula to success. Michael Jordan, he said that the reason he is so successful is because he has failed so much. One of my favorite quotes is out of the Rocky movie, and it talks about how, out of everyone you ever come against, life is going to hit you the hardest. But it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can keep a hit and keep going, and that's where I see failure at is, you're taking that hit, you keep on going, and how much failure you can take and keep moving, keep going forward. And that's how winning is done, by failing and keep on going. I'm a huge quote guy. I love quotes. I'm almost done building a quote app that is pretty much like a platform built for entrepreneurs. And one of the quotes I love, it's like 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so I started 10. It's great. So I think one of the things so many people out there, and I hear it every day, is that, they don't chase their dreams because they're afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure, you learn, let me tell you this, you learn way more from a failure than you do from a success. Because from a success, you don't really learn much. You think that the method you used worked, but you don't know what that independent variable was. When you fail at something, you learn exactly what did not work. And I would argue that there are way more lessons to be learned from a failure than there is from a success. Now, granted, nobody wants to fail, but just because you've failed, it doesn't mean that you've lost. It doesn't mean that the game is over. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. It just means that you found one way not to reach your destination. There's 1,000 more ways to get there. You just got to find the right one that works.
That is so true. I think that's like the best advice I've heard lately. But Derreck, just to finish things off here, where can people connect and find you if they want to reach out to you?
I am everywhere on social media. I'm on everything. All my handles are Derreck Stratton. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You name it, I'm there.
And then last thing, Derreck, actually, just before I close it down here, where can they find your course if anyone is interested in going into the construction market and does want to take that leap and keep moving at a faster pace and learn from your mistakes?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. It would have been horrible not to throw that in there. It's at constructionmastermind.com.
Awesome. All right, guys, that was an awesome show we had with Derreck here. Guys, go to get his course if you're interested in construction. I'm even going to tell one of my buddies to go get the course because I know how much he loves doing construction. And it's at constructionmastermind.com. Once again, constructionmastermind.com. That's where you guys should all be at. But if you want to reach us, you can find us at dr2cr.com. Saba, what are some final words?
Thank you so much, Derreck, for coming on today. You shared a lot of great advice to our young entrepreneur audience here. So guys, definitely reach out to him if you guys just want to connect with him or want to get his course. But thank you guys so much for listening today on Dorm Rooms to Conference Rooms.
Thanks, Derreck.
Thanks, Derreck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Dorm Rooms and Conference Rooms. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you haven't joined our accelerator program yet, you can find that at livetogrind.com/college, where we connect you with today's latest influencers and experts in their fields.